Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for Tuesday, August 12th. It's Alissa Coram here, and a broad market rally in the stock market today on the heels of renewed Fed rate cut hopes. And joining me now to break down the action in today's session is my colleague, Ed Carson. Ed, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at Meta, Goldman Sachs, and C.
All right, we'll check in on those stocks. But first, let's take a closer look at the major indexes and the power that we saw out there today. That was broad based. So, first, a look at the NASDAQ composite up 1.4% by sessions close. We had the S&P 500 up 1.1% on the day, back at new highs. Same for the Dow in terms of the percentage gain today, up 1.1%. Small caps in the lead, Ed, with the Russell 2000 very powerful here, up almost 3% on the day. Maybe let's start with the Russell.
Yeah, I mean, really strong. I'm not sure if it got quite above that high from a few days ago, a couple weeks ago, but it's basically at 6-month highs. Really powerful. All the indexes, just breadth all around. I mean, I came on last Friday and was saying, I'm a little worried about breadth, but today was a lot of breadth, and not just the indexes. We saw a lot of leadership, a lot of stocks from a lot of different areas. So I mean, today, the before the open, we got an inflation report. Some of it was good, some of it was not so good. The core inflation was actually a little higher than expected, but I think the feeling is that it would have had to be a horrific report for the Fed not to cut rates after that really weak jobs report. So Fed rate cut odds actually rose, basically a lock in September. Now the odds were moving towards 3 rate cuts in the year. So that just really pushed everything higher. And yeah, just a lot of strength. S&P and NASDAQ hitting all-time highs. The Russell, the Dow, RSP, all moving above the 21-day line. QQEW over the 50-day line, and I think it got over the 21-day line. It was right there. So I think it may have did just sneak above. So yeah, I mean, just really nice to see that gain on really an important piece of economic data.
Absolutely. So with QQEW and RSP, those two breadth measures that you were talking about, so seeing some improvement there, which is what we want to see in a market rally. It's not a necessary ingredient, but it does always help when you see a broad advance.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's take a look at a couple of ETFs of note, starting with IGV. This is the tech software ETF, up 1.2% on the day and at a critical level.
Yeah, so bouncing back, and this is this ETF probably masks some of the weakness that we've seen, a lot of weakness in software, but finding support at a key level. It still needs to get above the 21-day line, unlike the indexes.
Yes. What do you make of the rotation here? If traders wanted to play the software sector, this is one way to do it, but is it the best way to do it?
Yeah, it's a tough one because it seems like you've got a few extended stocks that are hard to buy, and then you have a bunch of laggards. So, I mean, this is sort of in between. I'm not sure what the best way to go would be. I mean, you could buy it basically with that trend line getting above the 21-day line. I'm not sure what the right way to play software is, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe find a leader and get in with the proper entry. But
Exactly, yeah.
if you do want to play some ETFs, sometimes these sector or thematic ETFs can be useful, but you want to get that outperformance. So if this is something that you've been in for the last couple of months, you haven't gotten that benefit of outperformance, right? You might as
Yeah,
well just be in SPY.
exactly.
Okay, let's take a look at chips. Here's SMH getting to highs up 2.3% on the day, so definitely outperforming the major indexes.
And this is probably something you could be doing because this is like, well, there are some that are doing even better. A lot of those are extended. It'd be great to find opportunities in those names like AMD, ALab, NVIDIA, but those are extended. But you could do something like this, or there's other names like LRCX, KLAC that look basically like this, but then, maybe you get outperformance, but you also have single stock risk with something like that.
Okay, so some setups there in the semi equipment group and an interesting look today to that SMH chart. Let's go to financials. Here's XLF, a notable move back above some key levels, up 1.2%.
Yeah, so that's nice to see. There's a lot of names that were sort of flashing some buy signals. We'll look at one, but there were a lot in the financial sector that were looking interesting today.
Okay, and jets. So the travel sector really lighting it up today, Ed.
Yeah, this is also one way to play airlines because they do fairly move together, and take out the risks. For one, the CPI airfares surged after airfares have been falling generally for most of this year, so big spike. But the real news, Spirit Airlines, with just exited bankruptcy 5 months ago, is saying like, looks like we might be going under again. But that's good news for all the other rivals who
Right.
wouldn't have to face that competition. So
Right.
big move here.
Yeah, Jets up 7.3% on the day. Pretty hefty move there. Okay, let's take a look at some stocks of note. First, in the mega cap tech space, Meta, a compelling setup, up 3.2% on the day. Not too long ago, we had that gap up on an impressive earnings report from Meta, and more or less, the stock has gone sideways ever since, and arguably actionable here today, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, this was our stock of the day, and Chris Gess has been talking about, hey, a lot of it is that you look for things that sort of got extended, do short pullbacks. This one has the advantage of forming a shelf just above the prior base. When you think of that whole 340, 347, it's not that extended out there. And this is showing leadership. It just sort of popped up there. You could have bought it when it sort of went above that trend line, or if you waited for it to get above all of that. But this is one way to play earnings gap ups, because if you bought on
Mhm.
the top of that earnings gap and then the next day it didn't, it might have been like, I don't know. And it ultimately all worked out. Sometimes it's nice to let that shake out. A lot to like about this name. Growth picked up in the last quarter. RS line is getting pretty close to highs. If it wasn't there, might have been there on a weekly. So yeah, it looks like it's like at a high on a weekly. So a lot of strength here, and still showing strong growth.
That it is. Let's now take a look at Goldman Sachs, ticker GS, one of the financial names that you teased we were going to talk about today, up 3.3% on the day, and one of the stronger looking names in this sector.
Yeah, and so it's clearing several weeks of trading. It's bounced off the 21-day line. There was a lot of names that sort of looked like this, not necessarily exactly. So I think this was viable. I believe this one was added to Swing Trader today. Nice action here. And I think one of the factors that was out there is that I think the 10-year Treasury yield was sort of flat, but the shorter end, which is more tied to Fed rates, that came down. So
Hmm.
if you feel like, one, that's just good for banks, they borrow short, lend long. And then it's just like, if you think that the Fed rate cuts will boost the economic growth, well, that's really important for the banks too. So the financials got it on both fronts there. Just a positive trend for a lot of the banks.
Yes. So, buy point there that got triggered for Goldman Sachs. And let's round things out with a look at C, that is SE, company SEA, Ed, up 19% on earnings today.
19%, yeah, and really gapped up, and it, wasn't looking that good heading into earnings. I mean, there was some high volume. It was basically at the low of the base. It didn't quite undercut it, I believe, so it wasn't a double bottom or even a sort of double bottom, but gapped up today. Strong earnings, the best sales growth in several years. So it really took off, and you could have bought it today. You could still buy it tomorrow, or you could wait a few days and see if it just pauses around, lets things catch up. But really nice action today. This one has been a steady incline, and they really do have the growth right now. So a lot to like about C.
Yeah, that triple digit earnings growth, quite impressive. And sales growth, which you discussed as well, up 38% for the quarter. Not too shabby at all, Ed.
Not too shabby.
Okay, so with a stock breaking out on earnings, up 19%, like you were saying, you could buy it, but could you also wait a couple of days to your point on the meta chart?
Yeah, that's exactly. I think that's how I prefer it when it gaps up that much. And I feel like, especially the last couple of weeks, one is that sometimes we've had a lot of intraday things where it'll pop up and then sell off. That didn't happen
Mm,
here. That strengthened. It did pretty well. But we've seen a number of stocks that have do really well on day one and then they come down a lot. I mean, that's just part of the nature of it. And if you're nimble and you want to do that and you play it, you just have to be able to get out. I usually like letting it settle down. I'm going to miss some opportunities. This might go up 5% tomorrow. And so it's like, oops, now I missed my chance. And that's I understand that. So you have to do a strategy that works for you, but
right.
that's something that I am more likely to do.
Yeah, there's definitely uh, benefits to both, and it depends on the stock, depends on the market, and a lot of other factors. So, and how you individually as a trader prefer to manage that risk, and your conviction level. I think that also plays into
It does.
the
It really
decision making
does.
process with an earnings gap. All right, Ed. Anything else to add before we wrap?
Well, let's take a look at a few stocks after the close.
Sure.
That the core weave, a lot of attention, made a nice move through the 50-day line during the regular session. It's down now. It looked like it was a wider than expected loss. Revenue might have beat. I mean, who knows how this will go? There's could be a lot of things on that. Another one is Rigetti Computing, RGTI. Full disclosure, I have a position. I had sold some before. Oh, now it turned higher, but honestly, it was down until literally like 10 seconds ago. I don't know how that one did, and there's not much revenue on a company like this. Kava, people still hold out hope that things are going to be better. It's not getting better before it gets worse. Let's put it this way. And it's hard when a restaurant stock has that kind of valuation and the growth is starting to slow. It can take a while, so that's not great. And one
Yeah, down
more.
22%
Oh
for
yeah, I'm
our
sorry for all the
Spotify
20.
listeners.
Spotify listeners 22%, and one more
Not
is
good.
Lumentum, ticker Light, and that one's just up slightly, and that's extended, so there's not really much you can do about it, but that's been a strong performer in the last several months, and so
It
that's
sure
what's
has
going on
been.
after the close.
Great. So core weave, just looking at the numbers there, uh, looks pretty liquid because the numbers are jumping around a lot, seeing it swinging around down 7 to 8% as of now. And we also know that overnight action doesn't necessarily always translate to the following regular session, but we do have your overnight column, Ed, to keep us up to date on the action as well as IBD Live in the morning. We will definitely be covering a lot of these movers. So we have that to look forward to in terms of the team's analysis. So thanks so much, Ed, for pointing those out for us.
All right. Thank you, Allie.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. That is it from us for today, but it is Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month. So we have our monthly Swing Trader status update show live at 5 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. This is one that you don't want to miss with IBD's own Mike Webster and Justin Nielsen walking you through a swing trader's perspective on the market, some recent trades that the swing trader team has made, an update on where we're at in this market, and a look at how to manage your portfolio given current conditions. So check that out on YouTube live at 5 p.m. Eastern. You can also watch the recording at investors.com/videos. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you in the morning on IBD Live, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details. And we'll see you right back here tomorrow.